The more clearly you understand yourself and your emotions, the more you become a lover of what is. If you want the present to be different from the past, study the past. The highest activity a human being can attain is learning for understanding, because to understand is to be free. The more you struggle to live, the less you live. Give up the notion that you must be sure of what you are doing. Instead, surrender to what is real within you, for that alone is sure. You are above everything distressing. I do not know how to teach philosophy without becoming a disturber of the peace. No matter how thin you slice it, there will always be two sides. Everything excellent is as difficult as it is rare. I have made a ceaseless effort not to ridicule, not to bewail, not to scorn human actions, but to understand them. Peace is not the absence of war. It is a virtue, a state of mind, a disposition of benevolence, confidence, justice. Do not weep. Do not wax indignant. Understand. When a man is prey to his emotions, he is not his own master. Be not astonished at new ideas. For it is well known to you that a thing does not, therefore, cease to be true, because it is not accepted by many. I would warn you that I do not attribute to nature either beauty or deformity, order or confusion. Only in relation to our imagination can things be called beautiful or ugly, well-ordered or confused. I have striven not to laugh at human actions, not to weep at them, nor to hate them, but to understand them. There is no hope unmingled with fear, and no fear unmingled with hope. In so far as the mind sees things in their eternal aspect, it participates in eternity. The endeavor to understand is the first and only basis of virtue. Emotion, which is suffering, ceases to be suffering as soon as we form a clear and precise picture of it. Know to laugh, not to lament, not to detest, but to understand. Pride is pleasure arising from a man's thinking too highly of himself. There can be no hope without fear, and no fear without hope. In practical life, we are compelled to follow what is most probable. In speculative thought, we are compelled to follow truth. Of all the things that are beyond my power, I value nothing more highly than to be allowed the honor of entering into bonds of friendship with people who sincerely love truth. For, of things beyond our power, I believe there is nothing in the world which we can love with tranquility, except such men. Happiness is not the reward of virtue, but is virtue itself. Nor do we delight in happiness, because we restrain from our lusts. But on the contrary, because we delight in it, therefore we are able to restrain them. A free man thinks of nothing less than of death, and his wisdom is a meditation, not on death, but on life. None are more taken in by flattery than the proud, who wish to be the first and are not. We feel and experience ourselves to be eternal. Men are mistaken in thinking themselves free. Their opinion is made up of consciousness of their own actions and ignorance of the causes by which they are determined. It is the part of a wise man, I say, to refresh and restore himself in moderation with pleasant food and drink, with sense, with the beauty of green plants, with decoration, music, sports, the theater, and other things of this kind, which anyone can use without injury to another. Men are mistaken in thinking themselves free. Their opinion is made up of consciousness of their own actions and ignorance of the causes by which they are determined. Minds, however, are conquered not by arms, but by love and nobility. He who seeks to regulate everything by law is more likely to arouse vices than to reform them. It is best to grant what cannot be abolished, even though it be in itself harmful. How many evils spring from luxury, envy, avarice, drunkenness, and the like, yet these are tolerated, because they cannot be prevented by legal enactments. He alone is free who lives with free consent, under the entire guidance of reason. The superstitious know how to reproach people for their vices better than they know how to teach them virtues. And they strive not to guide men by reason, but to restrain them by fear, so that they flee the evil rather than love virtues. Such people aim only to make others as wretched as they themselves are, so it is no wonder that they are generally burdensome and hateful to men. I should attempt to treat human vice and folly geometrically. The passions of hatred, anger, envy, and so on, considered in themselves, follow from the necessity and efficacy of nature. I shall, therefore, treat the nature and strength of the emotion in exactly the same manner as though I were concerned with lines, planes, and solids. Those who know the true use of money and regulate the measure of wealth according to their needs live contented with few things. He who wishes to revenge injuries by reciprocal hatred will live in misery. But he who endeavors to drive away hatred by means of love fights with pleasure and confidence. He resists equally one or many men, and scarcely needs at all the help of fortune. Those whom he conquers yield joyfully. No reason compels me to maintain that the body does not die unless it is changed into a corpse. And, indeed, experience seems to urge a different conclusion. Sometimes a man undergoes such changes that I should hardly have said he was the same man. Blessedness is not the reward of virtue, but virtue itself. All happiness or unhappiness solely depends upon the quality of the object to which we are attached by love. I call him free who is led solely by reason. Reason is no match for passion. Self-preservation is the primary and only foundation of virtue. The good which every man, who follows after virtue, desires for himself, he will also desire for other men. Whether this desire for sex is moderate or not, it is usually called lust. The harder it is to bring a woman to orgasm, the easier it is to bring her to hysteria.